Long before Sweden had its own coins, people had clever ways to trade. Imagine, if you will, a time without wallets or cash registers. If you were a farmer with extra wool, you might trade it with a neighbor for some fish or maybe a new clay pot. This system is called barter. It was a simple and direct way for people to get what they needed. You traded what you had for what you wanted. This worked well in small communities where everyone knew each other and could agree on the value of different goods. It was a very personal and hands-on way of doing business, built entirely on trust and negotiation between individuals. As trade grew and people started dealing with strangers from farther away, barter became more complicated. How many chickens is a good sword worth? How much grain for a boat? It was, honestly, pretty hard to agree. This is where silver came in. Silver was valuable everywhere. People started using pieces of silver not as coins, but as a form of money. They used silver rings, bracelets, and rough chunks called ingots. This silver wasn't stamped with a king's face. Its value was simply its weight and purity. It was a big step up from trading chickens for swords, making transactions smoother and more standardized across different regions. This early form of silver money was often called hack silver. That name is very descriptive. When you needed to pay for something, you would literally take a silver bracelet or ingot and hack off a piece. You would then weigh that piece on a small, portable scale. This is why archaeologists often find these small scales alongside chopped up silver jewelry in Viking-era sites. It was a practical solution. You could carry your wealth around your neck or arm and chop off a payment whenever you needed to. It was a rough but effective system for a world on the move, a world of traders and adventurers. Even foreign coins were treated this way. A coin from the Byzantine Empire or an Arabic dirham from Baghdad wasn't seen as a coin with a specific face value. To the people in early Sweden, it was just another piece of good silver. They would often chop these beautiful coins into pieces, just like any other silver object. It was the weight of the silver that mattered, not the picture on the coin or the king who made it. This use of silver by weight, along with barter, set the stage for the next big step in Swedish history, the creation of its very own national currency. The Viking Age, from around the 8th to the 11th century, was a time of incredible change and connection for Scandinavia. Swedish Vikings, known as Varangians, were master sailors and traders. They didn't just sail west, they traveled east, down the great rivers of what is now Russia and Ukraine. They journeyed all the way to the powerful Byzantine Empire in Constantinople and the wealthy Abbasid Caliphate in the Middle East. These eastern trade routes brought a massive amount of wealth back to Sweden. And the preferred form of that wealth was silver, a metal that was highly prized in the Islamic world. This trade created what historians call a river of silver flowing into Scandinavia. Archaeologists have found enormous hoards of foreign silver coins buried in Swedish soil. The most common were Arabic dirhams. These elegant silver coins came from places like Baghdad and Samarkand. Finding a coin from the Middle East in the Swedish countryside tells a fantastic story of long-distance trade and adventure. These coins weren't just treasure, they were the fuel for the Viking economy. They allowed chieftains to reward their followers, traders to buy exotic goods, and families to store their wealth for the future. For the Vikings, these coins were essentially high-quality, pre-weighed pieces of silver. While they might have admired the intricate Arabic script, they primarily valued the coins for their silver content. Just like with hack silver, these coins were often cut, bent, and tested to make sure they were pure. A merchant would weigh a handful of dirhams or even pieces of dirhams to complete a transaction. This system, based on the weight of silver, was known as a bullion economy. It was a flexible system that worked well across different cultures, from the markets of the Middle East to the trading posts of the Baltic Sea. This reliance on foreign silver, however, had its limits. The flow of silver could be unpredictable. If trade routes were disrupted by conflict or political change, the supply of silver could dry up. This made the economy vulnerable. A local king or chieftain had no control over the money supply. He couldn't guarantee the quality or quantity of silver in circulation. This situation created a powerful incentive for a Swedish ruler to take control, to create a currency that was reliable, local, and a symbol of his own authority. The stage was set for Sweden to mint its very own coin. The big moment for Swedish money came around the year 995. The man behind it was a king named Olof Skötkonung. He is considered the first king to rule over a significant part of what we now call Sweden. Olof was a forward-thinking ruler. He saw what other powerful kings in Europe were doing. They were minting their own coins. Having your own coins was more than just good for the economy. It was a powerful symbol. It told the world that you were a real king, with a real kingdom. It was a statement of power, stability, and independence. Olof decided it was time for Sweden to join that club. The first Swedish coins were silver pennies, or penningar. They were minted in the town of Sigtuna, which was the most important political and commercial center in Sweden at the time. Olof brought in skilled moneyers from England to help. English coins, particularly the pennies of King Ethelred the Unready, were well known and respected for their quality. The first Swedish pennies were deliberately modeled on these English coins. This was a smart move. It made people trust the new coins because they looked familiar and reliable. The design was simple but significant. On one side of the coin, you could see a profile of the king. His name, Olof, was often written alongside it, sometimes spelled in different ways. This was revolutionary. For the first time, a Swedish ruler's face and name were on the money people used every day. On the other side, there was typically a Christian cross. This was also very important. At this time, Sweden was in the process of converting from its old Norse pagan beliefs to Christianity. The cross on the coin was a powerful message from the king, showing his support for the new faith and aligning Sweden with the rest of Christian Europe. The creation of this first coin was a turning point. It marked the beginning of a centralized Swedish state. The king was no longer just a powerful chieftain. He was now the authority who controlled the money. This gave him more power over the economy and helped to unify the kingdom. It also slowly began to change how people thought about money. Instead of just weighing silver, people started to trust the coin itself, with the king's stamp guaranteeing its value. It was the first small step away from the old world of hack silver and toward a modern monetary system. After King Olof Skötkonung introduced the first silver penny, the idea of a national currency began to take root in Sweden. However, the journey through the Middle Ages was not a straight line. For a while after Olof's reign, coin minting actually stopped and then restarted several times. The central power of the king wasn't always strong, and sometimes Sweden slipped back into using foreign coins and silver by weight. It took time for the idea of a royal mint to become a permanent institution. But by the 12th and 13th centuries, coin production was back on track and expanding in important ways. As the kingdom became more organized, new mints were established in other important towns besides Sigtuna. Places like Lödöse, a key trading port on the west coast, and later the capital city of Stockholm, began to produce their own coins. This was a sign of a growing economy and a more structured administration. Having multiple mints meant that coins could be distributed more easily across the kingdom. Different coins from this period, called bracteates, were very thin and were only stamped on one side. The design on the front would appear in reverse on the back, like a faint echo. The designs on these medieval coins continue to tell a story about power and faith in Sweden. The king's head or crown was a common symbol, reinforcing royal authority. Religious symbols, like the cross or images of saints, remained very important, showing the deep connection between the church and the state. Sometimes a city's coat of arms would appear on a coin, indicating the growing importance of towns in the medieval economy. Each coin was a tiny piece of propaganda, communicating the key values and power structures of the time to everyone who used it. This period also saw the introduction of different values of coins. While the small silver penny was still the basic unit, larger coins began to appear. For example, the örtug was worth 8 pennies, and the mark was worth even more. This made larger transactions much easier. You no longer had to carry around a huge bag of pennies to buy something expensive. This development of a more complex system of denominations was a crucial step. It showed that Sweden's economy was becoming more sophisticated, moving beyond simple daily purchases to larger-scale trade and commerce. As Sweden entered the early modern period, its role in Europe changed dramatically. In the 17th century, under powerful kings like Gustavus Adolphus, Sweden became a major military power. It controlled large territories around the Baltic Sea. This new status required a lot of money to fund armies and run the empire. At the same time, Sweden had a huge natural resource: copper. The Great Copper Mountain in Falun was one of the most important mines in the world, producing a vast amount of copper. This combination of a need for money and an abundance of copper led to a truly unique and amazing invention. This invention was plate money, or plåtmynt in Swedish. Because Sweden didn't have enough silver to mint all the large value coins it needed, the government decided to make money out of copper instead. But to make a copper coin worth the same as a silver one, it had to be enormous. These weren't coins you could carry in your pocket. They were huge, heavy rectangular plates of copper. The government stamped the corners and the center of each plate with its value, the date, and the king's mark. This guaranteed that the plate was official currency. Imagine, just for a moment, going to the market with a wheelbarrow full of money. The largest of these copper plates could weigh nearly 20 kilograms, about 44 pounds. It was worth 10 silver thalers. These giant slabs of metal are the heaviest coins ever officially made in the world. While they were impractical for everyday shopping, they were used for large transactions, like paying taxes or buying property. For smaller payments, people used special credit notes issued by the bank that were exchangeable for the heavy copper plates stored in its vaults. This system was cumbersome, but it solved Sweden's silver shortage for a time. The era of plate money lasted for over a century, from 1644 to 1776. It is a fascinating chapter in the history of money and shows a country's creativity in solving a difficult economic problem. Today, these massive copper plates are highly sought after by collectors and museums around the world. They serve as a heavy, tangible reminder of Sweden's time as a great European power and its reliance on the rich copper resources that lay beneath its soil. It was a bold experiment that highlights the constant challenges of managing a national economy. So, the story of Swedish money isn't just about those big copper plates. It's also, well, a story of economic challenges. One of the biggest problems was the debasement of coins. This is when a king or government secretly reduces the amount of precious metal, like silver, in a coin without changing its face value. They would mix in cheaper metals like copper, and this allowed them to mint more coins and pay their bills, especially during expensive wars. But people weren't fooled for long. They quickly realized that the new coins contained less silver and were therefore worth less. This led to a loss of trust in the currency. This debasement caused inflation. Inflation is when prices for goods and services go up, and the money you have buys less than it did before. If everyone knows that the coins are mostly copper instead of silver, a baker will demand more coins for a loaf of bread to get the same amount of actual silver value. This created a lot of confusion and economic instability. There were often several different types of money circulating at the same time, all with different real values. It was a complicated and frustrating situation for ordinary people trying to conduct business. To bring order to this chaos, Sweden introduced a new, reliable silver coin in the 16th century called the dollar, modeled after the German thaler. Over time, this evolved into the riksdaler, which became the main currency of the Swedish realm, or Rike. The idea was to create a large, high-quality silver coin that people could trust. The government tried to maintain the riksdaler's silver content to make it a stable standard of value. For a long time, the riksdaler was the anchor of the Swedish monetary system, the coin against which all other smaller coins and paper notes were measured. Even with the riksdaler, the struggle between silver-based money and copper-based money continued. Sweden had a complex dual system. There was money valued in silver, silver mint, and money valued in copper, kopparmynt. The exchange rate between the two could fluctuate, creating more economic uncertainty. This ongoing battle to create a stable and unified currency system would be a major theme in Swedish economic history for centuries. The dream of a simple, trustworthy money system was still a long way off, but the riksdaler was an important step in that direction. The 19th century was, honestly, a time of great change all across Europe. The Industrial Revolution was transforming economies, and countries were looking for more modern and stable ways to manage their money. The old, complicated systems with riksdalers, skillings, and fluctuating values for silver and copper were becoming obsolete. Sweden, along with its neighbors Denmark and Norway, realized that they needed to modernize to keep up with the rest of the world. So, they decided to work together to create a new, shared monetary system that would be simpler and more reliable for international trade. This led to the creation of the Scandinavian Monetary Union in 1873. The three countries agreed to adopt a new currency called the krona, meaning crown. The krona was based on the gold standard, not the silver standard. This was a major shift. For centuries, silver had been the main precious metal backing the value of money. Now gold was taking its place as the international standard of value. One krona was defined as being worth a specific small amount of gold. This made exchanging money between the three Scandinavian countries and with other major trading nations much easier. When the krona was introduced, new coins were minted. The old silver riksdaler was replaced by beautiful new silver coins denominated in kronor. There was a 1 krona coin and a 2 krona coin, both made of silver. There were also smaller coins made of bronze and eventually other metals. For a while, silver continued to play an important role in the new system. People could hold a silver krona in their hand and know that it contained a valuable amount of precious metal. This link to silver helped people trust the new currency during the transition period. However, the 20th century brought challenges that the gold and silver standards just couldn't survive. The enormous costs of World War I and the economic turmoil of the Great Depression forced countries to abandon the gold standard. The link between the value of a coin and the precious metal it contained was broken. Governments needed more flexibility to manage their economies. Slowly but surely, the amount of silver in circulating coins was reduced, and then it was removed entirely. The era of silver as everyday money was coming to an end. The value of a krona was now based on trust in the government and the central bank, not on the metal it was made from. By the mid-20th century, the silver coins that had been a part of everyday life in Sweden for nearly 1,000 years began to disappear from circulation. The cost of silver as a metal had risen so much that the silver in the coins was worth more than their face value. For example, a 1 krona coin might only be worth 1 krona at the store, but the silver it contained could be sold on the metal market for 2 or 3 kronor. When this happens, people naturally start hoarding the coins instead of spending them. The government had to act. The final Swedish coins for everyday use that contained a significant amount of silver were minted in the 1960s. After that, the coins that looked like the old silver kronor were made from cheaper alloys, usually a mix of copper and nickel. They had the same size and general appearance, but the precious metal was gone. The silver coins were officially withdrawn and melted down, or they simply vanished into private collections and savings jars. An entire generation grew up never having touched a silver coin that was used for daily shopping. The sound of silver in a pocket was replaced by the lighter jingle of modern metals. But, this wasn't the end of the story for Swedish silver coins. While silver was no longer practical for everyday money, it found a new and important role. The Swedish royal mint, Riksbanken, began to issue special commemorative coins made of silver. These coins are not meant to be spent at the grocery store. They are created to celebrate important national events, anniversaries, or famous Swedes. For example, there might be a special silver coin issued for a royal wedding, the Nobel Prize centenary, or to honor a beloved author like Astrid Lindgren. These modern silver coins are works of art. They are carefully designed and struck in high-quality silver, often sold in protective cases with a certificate of authenticity. They are made for collectors and people who want a beautiful souvenir of a special moment in Swedish history. In a way, this brings the story of silver full circle. Just as the first silver coins were symbols of royal power and national identity, today's silver coins are symbols of national pride and cultural memory. They are a way to hold a piece of history and artistry, connecting the present day back to a long and glittering tradition. Looking back across more than 1,000 years, it's clear that the first silver coin, minted by King Olof Skötkonung, was far more than just a small piece of metal. It was a seed from which the entire Swedish nation-state and its economy would grow. Before that coin, Sweden was a patchwork of regions with a fluid economy based on barter and the raw weight of foreign silver. There was no central authority controlling what money was or how it worked. The world was one of hack silver, scales, and uncertainty, a system that was functional but limited the region's ability to grow. Olof's decision to create a Swedish penny was a profound act of state building. By putting his face and the Christian cross on the coin, he was sending a clear message. He was declaring that Sweden was a unified kingdom under a single king and part of the wider Christian European world. The coin was a tool for standardizing the economy, but it was also a powerful piece of propaganda that traveled to every corner of his realm. It helped to build a shared identity and a sense of belonging to a single political entity, laying the groundwork for the modern nation of Sweden. From that first simple penny, the Swedish monetary system evolved through centuries of challenges and innovations. We saw the development of different denominations in the Middle Ages, the incredible experiment of giant copper plate money during Sweden's age as a great power, and the constant struggle against debasement and inflation. We followed the journey to the stable riksdaler, and finally to the modern krona, which marked the end of silver's role in daily commerce. Each step in this story reflects the economic and political realities of its time, showing how money is always tied to history. Today, when a collector holds a modern, commemorative silver coin, they are connected to this long and fascinating saga. That beautiful piece of silver is a direct descendant of Olof Skötkonung's humble penny. It carries the legacy of the Viking traders' river of silver, the ingenuity of the massive copper plates, and the slow march toward a modern economy. The journey of the silver coin is, in many ways, the journey of Sweden itself, a story of transformation from a loose confederation of tribes to a proud modern European nation. It all started with one king's bold decision to stamp his authority on a small silver disc.